Welcome to La Louisiane, conversations brought to you by the official magazine of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I'm managing editor Maria Elizabeth Oliver. Today I'm here in Cypress Lake Studio, and we're welcoming Candice Dazet, Assistant Director of Student Engagement and Leadership here at the university, and Kevin Blanchard, CEO of Downtown Lafayette. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the upcoming Ragin Cajuns Downtown Alive on Friday, September the 5th, but I'd also like to discuss the connections between Downtown Lafayette and UL Lafayette, which is the topic of an article that I wrote for the recent fall issue of La Louisiane. So, I really am excited for this conversation. Kevin, one of my favorite quotes in this story came from you when you were talking about, how we are going to attract the next generation to stay in Lafayette. And you said, they don't want to live in a 1970s version of Lafayette. They want to live in a 2025 version of Lafayette. So can you share a little bit about, what you meant by that and kind of what a 2025 version of Lafayette looks like?
When you say that, I'm turning 50 this month, and so it makes me feel really old. But, I might be able to accurately describe what I mean by 1970s Lafayette. But we are kind of in a competition as a city, right? As an area, as a community, with every other community in our country who, is looking for a way to engage this generation. The way our economy has developed over the last decades is so little about how you can grow your economy. It's about where you're located from a natural resources perspective or a transportation perspective. And it's more about what type of people can you attract to this place to do good work and to get the sort of things done. And so we've seen this model across the country. There's always some random place in America that it's a place people really love to be. And all of a sudden they've got a lot of great economic and development potential because of that. So, what I mean is this generation of folks who are coming out of, getting into the workforce or just into the workforce, they have options. And, if we're not looking at, well, what is the sort of community that we're presenting and how are we, attracting these folks, then we're going to lose out, And I have two kids in college and a senior in high school. And I want them to stay here, and I think we all want that, and we have to remember that every other city around America that has a college wants the same thing,
right.
So yeah, how are we being proactive and saying, okay, well, what kind of place do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah. And downtown's a big part of that.
Big part of it. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, I moved here right after I graduated from college. And my wife was at UL, and I met her, fell in love, never left.
Happens to a lot of us.
Happens to a lot of us, But it was downtown where I first fell in love with Lafayette, right? The first time I went to festival or national, and I remember, someone was like, you just go downtown, you'll find it. I was like, what do you mean? Where's the stage,
Right.
And you realize oh no, there's this entire ecosystem that has developed around this really great event. But it's also in this really great place. So yeah, and we're neighbors, right? Downtown and UL have been basically coexisting for 100+ years.
Right.
And so turning towards each other and saying, okay, how do we build on these relationships and the energy and all the great things that are happening at the university and leverage that to wins for everybody.
Absolutely. And Candice, I know your job is it's engaging students.
Absolutely.
But I know that extends past just engaging them with the university, but also engaging them with the larger community. So Can you share why that's important?
Absolutely. So Kevin kind of touched on it, but we really want students to find their community outside of UL. UL has its own community system kind of built in. When they come here, we do a lot of engaging events. We help them find ways to get involved, but we also want them to be great citizens of the Lafayette and the surrounding community that they're a part of. So, like you mentioned, downtown is so close. We want to show how walkable it is. We want them to get involved and to be able to experience life outside of just UL. We want them to see different ways that they can give back to the community, that they can be involved, that they can find employment options or internship options that make them want to stay. I'm remembering a student, we had CivicCon a year or two ago, and that's what he said. He said, I didn't find anything for me to stay job-wise, and that's why I'm moving. And so hopefully with this partnership, we can show them that maybe it just takes a little bit more digging and a little bit more connection to that community for you to find those places. And I think downtown does a great job of highlighting that. And so to have this partnership, it helps us highlight that to the students as well.
Absolutely. And in your experience, what kind of feedback do you get from them that they like most about being part of this community?
They love, so what's trending right now is a lot of the third spaces options. And I've heard that from some students or even from community members, like there's a lack of third spaces. And I think this helps highlight that there are a lot of third spaces around the community that are free, that you can get to, you can walk to, that you can find community with. I think Parc Sans Souci is such a great representation of that. It continues to evolve. You now have, not just the fountain, but you now have the park area. Magnolia Pantry just opened up. So helping find those third spaces that they're looking for. You mentioned, you're turning 50. I also went to UL a decade or so ago. And so what that experience looked like for me was different. Downtown was nightlife.
Right.
And so we want to show them, and that's also what they're looking for is, different experiences. I love that about this generation is that they are so interested in doing different experiences together outside of just the normal nighttime downtown. And so this provides that, and that does give third space options to be able to find out just a hop, skip, and a jump right across the street.
Yeah, well, that's so neat because in our last episode, we talked a lot about mental health for students, and part of that conversation was talking about community and having spaces to come together. And I love that you mentioned that, and it makes so much sense that downtown is right there and has so many options. So thank you. So we're here to talk about Ragin Cajuns Downtown Alive. I mentioned it earlier. Candice, can you share a little bit about, how that event evolved and just share with people, what you've been working on? Yeah,
so this is our third annual Ragin Cajuns Downtown Alive. It's really exciting. So our Dean of Students, Margarita Perez, had a vision, and she entrusted me to kind of spearhead that initiative. And I'm so excited because she knows I love anything kind of music, activities, just anything engaging. And so we started out our first year just really trying to start that partnership with, here's the UL side. We bring in the Pride of Acadiana, Ragin Cheer and Jazz. We had our president speak. And then we also have student live action stations as well, where they check in. We build those partners with, we have Old Time as our partner to feed them. The Coca-Cola distribution donates water, which is amazing. And then our Student Government Association also donates swag items for the students because we got to incentivize them in a little way. So it kind of started as here's our blank slate, here's some things we know that will get students to the event. And downtown had a lot of, obviously experience putting on the Downtown Alive piece of that. So we kind of slid in there and here's the Ragin Cajun piece for our first year. And then year two, we were like, all right, now how can we elevate this and make it bigger? And so we had a piece of the intermission, which was really cool. We pulled in Ragin Roar, our university traditions board. Students had a piece of that. And that's one thing I want to highlight is we always want to pull students into this because it's for them as well. They did Ragin Roar. We had a whole pep rally piece. We pulled in athletics. The whole baseball team showed up. They were like, let's go. They were more energized than, anybody else. They were so excited to just be you need a water. So they were so great. And so for year three, we were okay, so let's really bring in that Ragin Cajun connection to this. I started meeting with more people to highlight it, on social media. We have a new GIF for Instagram. We doubled down on athletics. We've got some exciting things coming for year 3. So every year you kind of learn, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Are really excited. We have a new staff senate. So we're going to have a staff, faculty, and alumni tent all together. It was kind of separate.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to pull that all together because there's a lot of crossover there. So, and from what I'm told, because they do the geotag, there's over 5,000 people there.
Wow.
So to, kind of, you get your community piece, the students get to see the community, and then now we're incorporating the faculty, staff, and alumni piece into that. They've all had a small piece, but we're kind of, again, elevating, building it bigger. It's just really exciting to see every year we kind of just like, okay, what's one thing we can add? And downtown even threw me a curveball, was like, how about we do this? We're playing a hometown team. And so we're, there's some other exciting surprises I don't want to give away just yet, but look forward to intermission. But yeah, so it's really, really exciting to see that every year, you have your things, you're like, maybe not, let's do this again.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's like, no, we're doing this again. Like, how can we pull in more people and get them excited about it?
Mm-hmm.
So, look, this has quickly become our most attended Downtown Alive every year, and something that we want to build on. But when you think about it from our perspective, besides everything we talked about how trying to make a connection with these students, we don't do Downtown Alive in Park International where there's a fence and a gate and you kind of have to come through. Mm-hmm. One, because it's a free event, so what's the point of that? But also because we want for Downtown Alive to feel like it's in downtown, and that the folks you can kind of wander into it and find it, or wander away. Yeah. And so we're excited because we do track a lot of the foot traffic and kind of understand like where people are coming from and who are these folks. We're excited because people come and spend money downtown. Frankly, they come and spend time, and using that gateway point of the show. As a way to like introduce people. We have 37 restaurants downtown right now. It's by far the most we've ever had. And so there's so many different types of experiences that people can have there. And Downtown Alive, in particular, this group, getting the students in and frankly, the rest of the university community in. There's a few people my age that I saw in last year's Downtown Alive, some UL folks who were like, I probably haven't been downtown a little bit, and things are looking great. And I'm like, well, that's why we got you here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
I do think it's like a bridge back and forth that, kind of, to do a pun, but bridges the gap of like them learning from each other. One of the surprises we had last year was the Pride of Acadiana baton twirlers lit on fire, and they did the hot to go, and like the students were so excited, but the audience also knew the dance. And so, but if they didn't, they were like, okay, I got to learn this. Like they were teaching each other. And so I think that's such a big piece of it too, is like to bring people together. And so I think that's kind of the important piece of it too.
And can I say, so I've been in this job for a year and a half, and so I've had one Downtown Alive with UL and some other stuff. But we've had 2 UL groups come in, students, through Soul Camp and the Parish Proud event, and to work with our ambassadors. And we've, everything from picking up trash to some painting and some light construction and everything else. And cannot tell you how impressed we have been with the output, but also just the kids, just the quality of the students. And, I was thinking, now that I'm 50, I was like, I don't remember being that positive and like open to new things when I was that old, right? But we've noticed that too. And I kind of overheard in one event, a couple of kids as they were walking down, they're like, I haven't seen downtown in the daytime, but it's pretty cool, and so I love that, right? I love knowing that that we might be getting a little bit of attention, maybe getting our hooks in a little bit on like our next downtown supporters.
Absolutely.
Yes. And it's so like just being at that event is so magical because you feel the energy, you feel like you're living somewhere exciting, which I think like for me as they say, like a boomerang, somebody who like left and lived in bigger cities and came back. It fills you with such excitement to be in this place. And so much of that are the students. Like, they just bring so much energy. And so it's really neat to see that downtown and to see like them engaging and hopefully that's what, like you said, hooks them in and helps
Right.
them not only come downtown, but like stay in Lafayette.
Our goal is for the students at UL to feel like downtown is their campus. That's our goal.
I love that. I love that. And I guess just kind of continuing that conversation, like, can you give your kind of like pitch for people, either whether it's students, members of the university community, people who maybe, like you said, haven't been downtown much, have lived here forever, but only come for festival. Why now? I know there's been like a lot of momentum downtown. What are you most excited about?
I'm super excited. So, every downtown around America had some struggle at some point in the last few decades about how to bring people back, how to understand sort of what are we missing. And a lot of good folks have been working for a long time. And I feel like maybe I came into this job a year and a half ago when the pickle jar was pretty much loose, right? So yeah, we've got a new hotel that's coming, an 83-room boutique hotel right there by Parc Sans Souci.
Yeah.
It's going to overlook, the Parc Sans Souci stage. We have our ambassador program, which is a team of 4 full-time folks, 7 days a week that are picking up trash, cleaning up graffiti, giving directions, just being a caretaker for the folks downtown. And then we're doing a lot of work that's just getting started now, but working with the philanthropic community, the business community, with UL and some other community partners to start really doing some long-range planning on getting some of these big parking lots and empty spaces and sometimes blighted properties that we do have in the downtown area and putting them back into commerce. And I can tell you that I've been involved in some way, shape, or form in that type of work for a good 15 years now. And across the board, there's so much more optimism and confidence. And, it's more about what's the right project as opposed to like, is anybody going to pay attention? Are we doing the right thing? And and I tell people it's not because one day we woke up and just had a better idea, right? It's because for years we've been doing things like Downtown Alive, it's in the name, when that started 40 years ago, it was because we needed some life downtown. And, I think for a while that kind of got pigeonholed or evolved into like, well, Downtown Alive means it's a free music concert every other Friday night or whatever, right? But the reality is, no, it was a way for us to get and engage new audiences and to introduce new folks. And so, this, Downtown Alive is another example of the more successful we are at programming our downtown, at showing people how much fun and activity they can have, the difference and variety of activities, and providing them that variety. It just builds the right story, builds the right narrative. So we have 200 new residents downtown in the last 3 years, which is just a massive victory for us. And we just checked our sales tax numbers to kind of look at our growth over the last few years. And actually over the last 4 years, we've averaged more growth in our sales tax as a percentage than pretty much everywhere else in the parish, including Youngsville, I just have to say. So there we just have a lot of good momentum now, and you can kind of feel it. Folks are making those smaller investments. Some of our smaller businesses are expanding a little bit. We've gotten to the point where if a business closes, they're oftentimes looking for a better spot downtown or a bigger spot downtown, and so the retail churn and some of the office churn that we have is moving in a positive direction. So yeah, no, it's a great time. And the secret of all of this, I think, is we've done better as a community. I'm not just talking about downtown. We've done better as a community when we have leaned into the things that make us unique.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with our culture. That has a lot to do with our university. And so those are kind of our pillars, and that's what we're putting our faith in, because that's what's worked.
I'll add on to that too, because I think the businesses do such a good job of reaching out to our students as well. You do have to evolve with the times and the students, and they do a great job of like making it aesthetic and Instagrammable, but also reaching out to them through the channels that they use, hiring our students. That's a big deal. A lot of our students have to work. And so for that easy access of that walk across, if they don't have a vehicle, for them to find a job that's close and still, amazing. And again, the culture piece of that. But I do appreciate that the businesses that are downtown do some type of reach out to our students. They either provide discounts, they're part of our Red Dot program. So they, I think, also are part of that change in culture of, highlighting that piece of connection to UL as well.
Because I'm sure you see a lot of students who, they are familiar with the city. They've either lived here or they live nearby, but if they're living on campus, downtown probably feels a little different.
It does, yeah. So, again, sometimes it's so easy to get just in your bubble. I go to class, I go to work, I go to class, I go to my student org meeting, whatever it is. So sometimes, if it's not in your face or it's not being highlighted, you can forget the extras that you have. So I do think by having these partnerships and by businesses reaching out or having the art walk on Saturdays or different things that happen downtown, remind students like, oh, I do need a little me time. I need a break. I'm going to go look at some art. I'm going to go touch some grass, as they're saying. So it's all those little pieces like that you said that kind of build or add up. It's not just one thing. It's everything coming together at the right time.
Is there anything else kind of before we wrap up, either about this relationship? I loved how you both described it, as a bridge and as an extension of campus. I think that's just so spot on and different from how maybe it has been in the past. It's really like we feel, people who are aware feel this momentum. So it's exciting. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, I just, the energy here around the students and the environment that the university has created to empower the students, I think, is the thing that we really are excited about. I'm just a big fan of what the Office of Sustainability has been doing as far as getting the kids involved in, traffic safety and some other very tangible, real life things that would make a student's life and experience more productive. And so we just look for any opportunity that we can to be part of that energy and to help.
Yeah. I think I'll add that, I used to be a recruiter before this job for UL, and that's kind of how I would describe the culture of UL in Lafayette is you get that big campus feel, but still somehow it's a small community. You might not know people yet, but you're gonna know them. You won't walk 5 minutes down either campus or the road or in a store without running into someone that you've seen or met or, have been in a similar organization with. And that's the great part about who we are. While we are, a bigger university, we will always have that close-knit feel, and I love that about us. And then, I'll plug another piece is we do provide transportation. We are, going to have this in September. It is a little hot. It is walkable, but we do want to also make sure they arrive safely and not overheated. And so we also have the museum, Science Museum downtown that is considered part of campus. So we get to drop the students off there. And then they get to do that little walk around the corner and get surprised by walking into Parc Sans Souci, seeing the Lafayette sign painted. And so if you are interested in more information, louisiana.edu/Cajun Craze is the website with all the activities, and then we'll be the activity that caps off those fun 2 weeks. But,
okay, so it's the end of that kind of
Yes,
beginning.
we call it a little extra little lanyap, a little extra. And so that is kind of how we built it, is this is the activity that kind of brings everything all together at the end. And they've met people throughout the 2 weeks of Cajun Craze. So here it is, find your friend, meet some people there, and let's enjoy it together. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you both
you.
so much. Appreciate it. And we appreciate you joining this conversation with La Louisiane, the official magazine of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette since 1989. Check back next month for more discussions with members of our university community. You can listen to an archive of this conversation and read related articles by visiting louisiana.edu/magazine or pick up a copy around town. KRVS is listener-supported public radio for Acadiana, a service of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Thanks for listening.